I appreciate you taking time to review the itinerary for this new Heritage Tour that we're doing, sponsored by the Ralph Bullard Christian Heritage Foundation and Christian Heritage Academy. So I trust that you'll find the information quite helpful and hopefully intriguing as we take a look at America's Christian heritage on this tour. This particular tour, at a point in my life, became very, very inspirational to me and very meaningful to me. I was, first time I was in Plymouth in 1974, I was on a seminar to reintroduce Christian educators to their heritage as American Christians. And when we got to Burial Hill, the place where the original Pilgrims were buried that first winter, and in later years too, I was especially moved by the grave markers of Governor William Bradford, and then right next to that grave marker, the honorary memorial burial place of Adoniram Judson. And I think if I would take a moment to read to you what I wrote a few years later when I went back to Burial Hill with one of the senior classes, the impact that that first trip had upon my life. So I want to take just a moment and read that to you. It said, "We took a walking tour of Plymouth. We started with the Plymouth Rock, statue of Massasoit, Coles Hill, where the Pilgrims buried their dead that first awful winter of 1620 and 21. We walked up Leyden Street, the original street of Plymouth Plantation, to Burial Hill. This is the most beautiful spot I've ever seen. From this spot, where the original meeting house was situated, you see down Leyden Street the Plymouth Harbor, the beautiful white caps of the Atlantic, and all the surrounding countryside. This is the burial place for many of the original Pilgrims. Once again, I was overcome with emotions. I viewed the graves of Governor Bradford and Adoniram Judson, buried only a few feet apart in distance, but 200 years in time. It was here in 1974 that I first had the full impact of my great American Christian heritage. It was Bradford who said that the Pilgrims came to America to propagate the gospel, and they were but stepping stones for those who had come later. In his history book of Plymouth Plantation, Governor Bradford was listing several reasons why the Pilgrims came to America, and he concluded the reasons with this one special one. And so I'll read that quote from his history book. "Lastly, and which was not least, a great hope and inward zeal they had of laying some good foundation, or at least to make some way thereunto, for the propagating and advancing the gospel of the kingdom of Christ in those remote parts of the world. Yea, though they should be but even stepping stones unto others for the performing of so great a work." It was Governor Bradford who said the most important thing was that they came to bring the gospel to the people in America. Well, Adoniram Judson was the first American foreign missionary, and he spent most of his adult life in Burma teaching the gospel. I walked back and forth from these two grave sites 2 different times to savor the impact of these 2 men. I renewed my commitment to teach our great American Christian heritage to future generations at home and at school, and may God give me the grace. That's significant that the purpose for the Pilgrims' coming was fulfilled in the very same geographical location, the area of Plymouth, with Adoniram Judson answering God's call to take the gospel to Burma. We really do have a heritage as American Christian. There are many different spots on the tour that different people may be inspired by, but God speaks to different people in different ways. I know that when I was 17 years old, God changed my life by accepting Christ as my personal Savior. And then in 1974, when I stood on Burial Hill and was taught about Bradford's life and Adoniram Judson's life, that I realized that America did have a gospel purpose. And I became committed at that time that I wanted to be a part of that purpose being known to future generations. And I've been blessed, and many have been blessed, as the whole concept infiltrated and captivated the ministry of Christian Heritage Academy. So lives are changed individually and lives are changed collectively as we call our Christian heritage. Mr. Holmes, earlier I had to discuss why this particular heritage tour is so important personally and also important to our school, and that we've had this tour for about 41 different times, and on most of those tours you've been one, have either been usually in charge of it, have directed it, and some people have asked me, what is it about the tour that allows you or enables you to still be enthusiastic and passionate and looking forward to it after going back and seeing those same sites over 35 times? How you respond to that?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because several people have asked through the years, how in the world can I keep being excited about this tour? And when I think about it, it's like, what is not to be excited about? I mean, if somehow, some year I quit being excited about understanding what the Lord has done in the history of our nation, if I'm not excited about that, if I'm not excited about going from place to place and seeing what God has done, then I shouldn't be doing it anymore. But it's still very exciting to see what the Lord did in the establishment of our nation and what He continues to do, and how we can be involved in the restoration of America. And so that's what keeps it exciting to me.
And the other thing that I would like to hear you say, having been with you on a number of those tours, which spot or spots, which events, which site seems to generate the most interest in you, or most excitement in you, or I use the word passion again, of a real passion for what you're doing on these tours?
The sites that are most exciting year to year seem to be those that are so simple, like Cornhill or Pilgrim Springs, or some of those things like that. And being able to see the kids, and it's like it comes alive in their eyes. It's like, this is really true. We've studied about this, and we're here, and it makes sense, and God is a God of divine providence. He does have a plan for men and for nations, and more importantly, and He has a plan for each one of them and how they can be involved in the restoration of America. And the interesting thing is, we've seen that be so true for the adult trips we've taken to, and that's been very fun to see the adults and them learn, many of them for the first time, about their heritage and who they are as American Christians and what that means for them now. And that has kept the tour very exciting for me, and really is the most exciting part, to be used by God in that way.
Well, Mr. Holmes certainly expressed his understanding of why it's not difficult for him to be passionate about the trip. I want to encourage you to continue looking at this DVD, and you'll see scenes from last year's senior trip that was taken in a complete color motion picture, and we picked out some of those special spots that we'll be going to this year, and I hope you'll take a look at them. You'll catch some of the spirit of the trip, but also the significance of the trip. So really trust that you'll look forward to responding to us for this trip for September the 10th through the 17th, and it will be for some of you, be a trip of a lifetime. And we look forward to getting to see you, spend time with you, and enjoy you. Thank you.